The young secretary was shocked to see a childhood photo of herself in her boss's office. The air conditioning hummed its monotonous tune on the 32nd floor, the kind of white noise that becomes invisible after years of working in the same place. Valerie Collins balanced the ceramic cup carefully as she crossed the polished marble floor, her heels clicking softly with each step. She'd made this walk 1,000 times before. Coffee at 8:15 a.m. sharp, 2 sugars, no cream, just the way Frederick Hale liked it. "Morning, Mr. Hale," she said, setting the cup on the mahogany desk that probably cost more than her entire year's salary. Frederick barely looked up from his computer screen. "Morning, Valerie, thank you." She turned to leave, already mentally sorting through the mountain of emails waiting for her, when something caught her eye. A ray of morning sunlight had broken through the Chicago skyline, cutting across the office like a spotlight, illuminating a silver picture frame on the credenza behind Frederick's desk. Valerie stopped mid-step, her breath caught in her throat. The frame held a photograph of a little girl, maybe 4 years old, sitting on a wooden swing, pigtails, a white dress with embroidered flowers, that specific pattern, daisies around the collar, roses on the hem. She knew that dress. She'd only seen it once, in the single childhood photo her grandmother had managed to save before the house fire. "Is everything okay?" Frederick's voice seemed to come from very far away. Valerie's hands trembled. She walked toward the credenza as if pulled by an invisible thread, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She picked up the frame with shaking fingers. It wasn't just similar, it was identical. The same swing set from the old playground in Willow Creek, Montana. The same dress her grandmother had sewn by hand, spending weeks on those tiny embroidered flowers. The same smile she'd seen in her one precious childhood photograph. "That photo," her voice came out as a whisper. That's me." The frame slipped from her fingers. Glass shattered across the marble floor, the sound impossibly loud in the quiet office. Valerie stared at the broken pieces, then at Frederick, who had gone completely pale. His hands gripped the edge of his desk, knuckles white. "Please," he said, his voice hoarse. "Please sit down." "How do you have this picture?" Valerie heard herself say, though her lips felt numb. "How?" Frederick stood slowly, like a man much older than his 55 years. His hands shook as he gestured toward the leather chair across from his desk. "Sit, please. There's something I should have told you the day you walked through that door." Valerie couldn't move. Her legs felt like they'd been turned to stone. "Tell me now." He walked to the window, his back to her, looking out over the city sprawled below. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. 27 years ago, I met a woman named Elena Collins." The floor seemed to tilt beneath Valerie's feet. "That was my mother's name." "I know." Frederick's shoulders sagged. "She was an elementary school teacher in Willow Creek. I was there for a construction project. My first big solo job, actually. I was 28. She was 26, and she was everything." Valerie forced herself to walk to the chair and sit before her legs gave out. "What are you saying?" He turned to face her, and she saw tears in his eyes. Real tears, running down the cheeks of a man she'd only ever seen as composed and untouchable. "We fell in love. 6 months, the happiest 6 months of my entire life. We talked about getting married, buying a little house, starting a family. I'd never felt anything like that before or since. But," Valerie whispered, though she already knew there had to be a but my family had other plans." His laugh was bitter, broken. "The Hales don't marry small-town teachers. They marry into money, into power. My father arranged an engagement to Beatrice Monroe. Her father owned half the steel mills in the Midwest. I was told in no uncertain terms that if I didn't go through with it, I'd be cut off. No money, no company, nothing. So you left." Valerie's voice was flat, emotionless. She felt like she was watching this conversation happen to someone else. "I left." The words seemed to physically pain him. "I was a coward. I convinced myself I'd come back, that I'd figure something out. I married Beatrice in October. It was the biggest mistake of my life." Valerie's hands clenched into fists. "My mother never married. She died when I was 5. She never even dated anyone else. I found her journal years later. Every page had your name on it, Frederick. Frederick. Like she was trying to write you back into existence. He flinched as if she'd struck him. 4 months after I left, she wrote me a letter. She was pregnant, she was scared. But she said she'd love our baby enough for both of us if she had to. She just wanted me to know. I never got that letter, Valerie. I swear on everything I hold sacred, I never got it. What? Valerie stood up, her chair scraping harshly against the floor. What do you mean you never got it? Frederick walked to his desk and pulled out a manila folder with shaking hands. My sister, Constance Hale, intercepted it. She worked in my office at the time, handled all my correspondence when she saw a letter from Montana, from Elena's name. She opened it, and she destroyed it. He handed Valerie the folder. Inside was a yellowed envelope, the paper brittle with age. The letter inside was written in careful, looping handwriting. Her mother's handwriting, which Valerie recognized from the journal. Dear Frederick, I don't know if you'll even read this. Maybe you've forgotten about me already. But I have to tell you, I'm going to have a baby. Your baby. I'm scared, but I'm also happy. I'll love this child with everything I have. If you want to be part of this, I'm here. If you don't, I understand. But our baby deserves to know the truth someday. Always yours. Elena. Valerie's vision blurred with tears. She waited for you. Constance didn't just destroy the letter. Frederick's voice cracked. She paid 2 men to go to Willow Creek. They found Elena and told her I knew about the pregnancy and wanted nothing to do with her or the baby. They told her if she ever contacted me again, they'd make sure she regretted it. No. Valerie shook her head, backing away. No, that's not. It gets worse. Frederick pulled out more papers. Last year, on her deathbed, Constance confessed everything. She gave me this letter she'd kept all these years, told me what she'd done. She said she was protecting the family, protecting me from making a terrible mistake. She died 2 days later. Valerie stared at the papers in her hands. The letter, a copy of Constance's deathbed confession witnessed by a nurse. Investigator reports. And finally, a DNA test result. Father and daughter, 99.9% probability. When I found out the truth, I lost my mind. Frederick continued. I hired investigators. It took months, but I found your mother's grave in Willow Creek. I learned she'd died when you were 5, hit by a car. I found out she'd had a daughter. I tracked that daughter to Chicago, working as an executive assistant. He gestured helplessly toward the broken frame on the floor. You're identical to her, same eyes, same smile, I knew. Why didn't you tell me? Valerie's voice rose, sharp with anger and pain. Why hire me and not say anything? Because I'm a coward, the words burst out of him. The same coward who left your mother 27 years ago. I was terrified you'd hate me, that you'd think I was some pathetic old man trying to buy your forgiveness. So I told myself I'd wait for the right moment. But there is no right moment for this, is there? Valerie looked down at the papers in her hands, at the photograph lying among the broken glass, at this man who was apparently her father. Her entire life had been built on a lie, not even a lie. A stolen truth, intercepted and destroyed by a woman she'd never met. My mother loved you until the day she died, she said quietly. I need time to process this. Frederick nodded, wiping his eyes. Take all the time you need. But Valerie, please believe me. If I had known, I would have been there. I would have chosen you and Elena over everything else. Valerie walked to the door, then paused without turning around. That photo, where did you get it? Your grandmother sent it to Elena the year before she died. I found it tucked inside the journal your mother kept. I've been looking at it every day for the past year, trying to find the courage to tell you the truth. She left without another word, leaving behind the shattered frame, the spilled coffee, and the man who claimed to be her father, standing alone in his empire built on choices he'd never actually made. Valerie didn't go back to her desk. She couldn't. Instead, she found herself in the women's restroom on the 28th floor, far enough from Frederick's office that no one would think to look for her there. She locked herself in a stall and let the tears come, silent and hot, streaming down her cheeks until her mascara ran black rivers onto her white blouse. Her mother had loved a man who never knew she existed. No, worse than that. Her mother had loved a man whose family had threatened her, silenced her, erased her like she was nothing more than an inconvenient mistake. 20 minutes passed before Valerie could breathe normally again. She washed her face, fixed her makeup as best she could, and took the elevator back up when she walked into Frederick's office. He was still standing by the window, looking like he'd aged 10 years in the last hour. "I need to see everything," Valerie said without preamble. "Every document, every piece of evidence, all of it." Frederick nodded and gestured to his desk, where he'd laid out the entire folder's contents in careful rows. Valerie sat down and began reading. The investigator's report was thorough. Painfully so. It detailed how Constance Hale had worked as Frederick's executive assistant in 1998, managing his correspondence during the Montana project, when Elena's letter arrived on October 15th. Marked personal, Constance had steamed it open in the office bathroom. "She kept notes," Frederick said quietly, pointing to a small leather journal among the papers. "My sister kept notes about everything she did. Her therapist found it after she died and thought I should have it." Valerie picked up the journal with trembling fingers. The entry dated October 15th, 1998, was written in tight, precise handwriting. "Intercepted letter from the Montana woman today. She's pregnant. Frederick cannot know about this. He'd throw away everything father built for some nobody teacher and her bastard child. I've already called Marcus and told him to handle it. $5,000 should be enough to scare her off permanently. The wedding is in 2 weeks. This ends now. Marcus." Valerie looked up. "Marcus Webb. He worked security for our family back then. The investigator tracked him down last year. He's the one who went to Montana with another man. They found your mother at the elementary school where she taught. What did they tell her?" Frederick's voice was barely audible. "That I'd received her letter, that I'd laughed when I read it, that I was about to marry someone appropriate to my station, and wanted nothing to do with some small-town mistake. They told her, if she ever contacted me again, they'd make sure she lost her teaching job and any chance of supporting a baby on her own." Valerie closed her eyes. She could picture her mother, young, pregnant, terrified, facing down 2 men who'd traveled all that way just to crush her hope. She believed them. Why wouldn't she? I'd already left without saying goodbye. I'd already chosen my family's money over her. From her perspective, this was just confirmation of what kind of man I really was. Valerie kept reading. There were bank statements showing the $5,000 payment to Marcus Webb, a sworn affidavit from Webb himself, dated 6 months ago, where he confessed to the intimidation. He'd kept quiet for 26 years. But when Constance died, and he heard Frederick was looking for information, his conscience finally caught up with him. Then came the DNA results. Frederick had obtained a sample from Valerie's coffee cup 3 months ago, before she'd even known she was being tested. The scientific proof was irrefutable. Frederick Hale was her biological father. "You tested my DNA without asking me." Valerie's voice was sharp. "I know. Frederick at least had the decency to look ashamed. I needed to be certain before I said anything. I know that doesn't make it right, but I couldn't risk telling you and being wrong. The pain that would have caused. So instead you hired me, watched me, tested me like some kind of science experiment. Yes." He didn't try to defend himself. "I wanted to know you, to see what kind of person Elena raised. And Valerie, she raised someone extraordinary. You're professional, kind, brilliant at your job. Everyone here respects you. You earned your position. I never gave you preferential treatment, except for secretly running my DNA and keeping this massive secret while I served you coffee every morning like nothing was wrong." Frederick flinched but nodded. "You have every right to be angry." Valerie turned back to the documents. There were photographs of her mother she'd never seen before. Frederick must have kept them all these years. Elena at 26, laughing at something off camera, her hair blowing in the Montana wind. Elena in a sundress, sitting on the hood of an old pickup truck. Elena and Frederick together, his arm around her shoulders, both of them looking absurdly happy. "You look like her," Frederick said softly. "When you smile, really smile. Not that polite work smile. You're identical to her." "She kept a journal too," Valerie said. "After she died, my grandmother gave it to me. I was too young to read it then, but when I turned 16, I finally opened it." She looked up at him. "Every single entry mentioned you. Frederick would have loved this sunset. Frederick used to make me laugh when I was sad. I wonder if Frederick thinks about us. I hope our baby has his eyes." Frederick's face crumpled. He sank into his chair like a puppet with cut strings. "I would have been there if I'd known. God, Valerie, if I'd known. But you didn't know. And she died thinking you didn't want us." Valerie's voice was steady, but her hands shook as she gathered the papers. "She was hit by a car when I was 5. A hit-and-run driver who was never caught. She died instantly. I was at kindergarten. My grandmother picked me up and told me Mommy had gone to heaven. I'm so sorry. Are you?" The words came out harsher than Valerie intended. "You married Beatrice. You built this empire. You had a whole life while my mother raised me alone, working 2 jobs, living in a tiny apartment, always tired but always loving. She never dated anyone, never even looked at another man. She was waiting for you." Frederick's tears fell freely now. "I didn't love Beatrice. The marriage lasted 5 years before she left me for someone else. We never had children. She didn't want them, and I couldn't imagine having a child with anyone but Elena. I threw myself into work instead, built this company into something massive and meaningless. Everything I have, all of it, it's hollow. It's been hollow for 27 years. Valerie stood. "I need time to process this. All of it. Of course. Take whatever time you need. Your job is secure. That has nothing to do with this." "Doesn't it, though?" Valerie gathered the folder, holding it against her chest. "Can I keep these copies?" "They're yours. Everything is yours." At the door, Valerie turned back. Frederick looked broken, decades older than his 55 years, sitting in his enormous office surrounded by the trappings of success that meant nothing. "My mother wrote in her journal that she hoped I'd be brave enough to love someone the way she loved you," Valerie said quietly. "She said real love doesn't count the cost. It just loves." Frederick's voice was barely a whisper. "She deserved better than me." "Yes, she did." Valerie opened the door. "But maybe you didn't deserve what happened either. Your sister stole that choice from both of you." She left him there, the folder clutched tight in her hands, full of proof that her entire childhood had been shaped by one woman's cruelty and 2 men's cowardice. The elevator ride down felt endless. When she finally reached the lobby, Chicago's cold October wind hit her face like a slap. Valerie walked for hours, the folder under her arm, not caring where she went, by the time she made it back to her apartment. It was dark. She spread all the documents across her living room floor. The letters, the photos, the DNA results, the confession, and stared at them until the words blurred together. Her phone buzzed, a text from Frederick. "I understand if you need space, but please know, you're my daughter. That's not something I take lightly. When you're ready to talk, I'm here." Valerie stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "I need a few days, but thank you for telling me the truth." Finally, she set the phone down and picked up the photograph of her mother and Frederick, young and in love, before everything fell apart. They looked so happy, so completely unaware that Constance Hale was already planning to destroy them. "I forgive you, Mom," Valerie whispered to the photo, "for loving him, for hoping he'd come back. I understand now." She just wasn't sure yet if she could forgive Frederick, or herself for wanting to. 3 days passed before Valerie responded to Frederick's messages. 3 days of sleepless nights, staring at her mother's photo, reading and rereading Elena's journal entries. On the 4th morning, she texted him, "Can we meet somewhere outside the office?" Somewhere that was hers. Frederick's reply came within seconds. "Willow Creek. I can arrange a flight for this weekend." Saturday morning found them driving through Montana in a rental car, the landscape transforming from highway monotony to rolling hills dotted with pine trees. Valerie hadn't been back since her grandmother's funeral 10 years ago. Everything looked smaller than she remembered, but somehow more vivid. The mountains sharper against the sky, the air cleaner, the silence deeper. She loved it here, Valerie said as they passed the old elementary school, now repurposed as a community center. Even when things were hard, even when she was exhausted, she'd say, "At least we have the mountains." Frederick drove slowly, taking in every detail. "I fell in love with this place before I fell in love with her. Then she showed me the creek at sunset, and I understood why it's called Willow Creek. The light turns everything golden." They parked at the small cemetery on the edge of town. Elena's grave was simple, a modest headstone that read, Valerie Collins, 1972-2003, beloved mother and teacher. She loved fiercely. Frederick stood frozen, staring at the dates. She was only 31. Yeah. Valerie knelt and brushed dried leaves from the stone. Way too young. I should have been here. His voice broke. For her funeral, to help raise you, You didn't know. Valerie looked up at him. That's what I've been trying to accept this week. You didn't know because someone made sure you wouldn't. That's not the same as choosing to stay away. Frederick knelt beside her, his expensive suit collecting dirt. Tell me about her. About your life with her, please. So Valerie did. She told him about Sunday morning pancakes shaped like Mickey Mouse, about her mother singing off-key in the car, making up silly lyrics to pop songs, about how Elena would read the same bedtime story 3 times if Valerie asked, doing different voices for each character. She worked at the elementary school during the day and cleaned offices at night. Valerie said, I'd do my homework in break rooms while she vacuumed. But she never complained. She'd say, we're a team, you and me, the Collins girls against the world. Frederick wiped his eyes. She sounds incredible. She was, and stubborn. When I was 7, kids at school said I didn't have a dad because my mom was a bad person. I came home crying. You know what she told me? What? She said, your father loved us. He just didn't know we existed. And that's nobody's fault. Sometimes love gets lost, but that doesn't mean it wasn't real. Even after everything, she defended you. Frederick's shoulders shook with silent sobs. Valerie found herself reaching out, placing a hand on his arm. It was the first time she'd voluntarily touched him. I brought something, Frederick said after a moment, pulling a worn notebook from his jacket. I found it when I was going through old storage. It's from that summer in Montana. He opened it to reveal sketches. Architectural drawings mixed with personal observations. One page showed the elementary school where Elena taught. Another had rough designs for a house with a notation, he wants big windows. Says she needs to see the mountains every morning. You were planning to build her a house. We looked at land together, 5 acres just outside town. She picked the exact spot, said she could picture our kids running through those trees. His finger traced the sketch. I had started the permits before my father summoned me back to Chicago. Valerie turned the pages carefully. There were more drawings, notes about Elena's preferences, even a sketch of her laughing. Frederick had clearly been in love, planning a future he never got to build. Keep it, Frederick said. It should be yours. They sat in silence for a while, the Montana wind rustling through the grass. Finally, Valerie spoke. I want to know you, not as my boss, but as my father. But I need you to be patient with me. This is all so much. I'll take whatever you're willing to give, Frederick said immediately. We can go as slow as you need. Tell me about your life, the real story, not the corporate biography everyone knows. So Frederick talked about growing up under his father's iron fist, where business always came before everything, about his loveless marriage to Beatrice, who'd been equally trapped in the arrangement, about throwing himself into was the golden child, he said bitterly. She always did exactly what father wanted. I thought she was protecting me when she managed my correspondence. I never imagined He couldn't finish. Was she ever sorry? Valerie asked. Before she died? Did she regret it? She said she did what was necessary for the family. Even on her deathbed, she believed she'd made the right choice. The therapist said that's why she kept such detailed notes. She was proud of what she'd done. That's sick. Yes. Frederick's jaw tightened. My sister was a lot of things, but she wasn't someone who questioned her own morality. She decided you and your mother were threats, and that was that. They visited Elena's old apartment building next, now renovated into something more upscale. Valerie pointed out the window that had been their living room. I learned to ride a bike in that parking lot. Mom ran behind me for 3 hours until I got it. She had blisters on her feet for a week. I would have been there for that, Frederick said quietly. For all of it. I know. And Valerie realized she meant it. The anger was still there, but it was shifting, redirecting itself toward Constance, toward the circumstances, toward the unfairness of it all. but less toward Frederick himself. That evening, they had dinner at the only restaurant in town, a diner that hadn't changed in 30 years. The waitress recognized Valerie and hugged her, asking about school, not knowing she'd graduated college 5 years ago. Small towns, Valerie thought. Time moved differently here. Your mom used to bring you here every Friday, the waitress said. Grilled cheese for you, chef salad for her. She'd let you have ice cream even when you hadn't finished your sandwich. Frederick ordered the chef salad. In her honor, he explained to Valerie as they ate. Frederick pulled out his phone. I've been thinking. That land we looked at, the 5 acres, it never sold. I checked. What if we bought it? What would we do with it? I don't know yet, but it felt wrong letting strangers have the place she chose for our family. Valerie considered this. Okay, let's buy it. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a routine. Frederick would pick Valerie up Saturday mornings, and they'd drive somewhere Elena had loved. The hiking trail where she took students on field trips, the library where she'd read to Valerie every week, the creek itself where Frederick had first kissed her. Frederick brought Elena's journal, the one he'd found with Constance's confession, and they read it together, filling in the gaps in each other's knowledge. Elena had written about Frederick constantly, but with love rather than bitterness. She'd wanted their daughter to know her father had been a good man, caught in impossible circumstances. She forgave me, Frederick said, voice wondering, as he read one particular entry, even without knowing the truth about Constance. She forgave me. That was Mom. She said holding grudges was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Wise woman. The wisest. One Saturday, 6 weeks after the revelation, Frederick taught Valerie to cook Elena's favorite meal, lasagna, because she'd said it reminded her of family. Even though she'd been an only child, they worked side by side in his kitchen, and Valerie found herself laughing at his terrible chopping technique. Your mother never told you I can't cook? Frederick asked. Mock offended. She barely mentioned you could eat. Her journal was more about your emotional qualities than your practical skills. Fair enough, he grinned, and Valerie saw a glimpse of the young man her mother had loved. Though I did make her breakfast once. She said it was very sweet, and never let me near the stove again. As they ate, Frederick grew serious. I want to put you in my will. Officially, you're my daughter, and you deserve... I don't want your money, Valerie interrupted. I know you don't. But it's not about money. It's about recognition. About making sure the world knows you're my child. That you matter. That you're family. Valerie set down her fork. Family? Is that what we are now? Frederick met her eyes. I'd like to be if you'll let me. Valerie thought about her mother. About forgiveness and second chances. About the father she'd always wanted. And the man sitting across from her who was trying so hard to be that person. Okay, she said softly. Family. But Dad, can I call you that? Frederick's eyes filled with tears. Please. Dad, we do this my way. Slow, honest, no more secrets. No more secrets, he promised. I swear it. They finished dinner, talking about small things. Work, weather, plans for Thanksgiving. Normal things. Family things. And for the first time since that morning in the office, Valerie felt something like peace. Outside, snow began to fall over Chicago. Inside, father and daughter sat together, building bridges across 27 years of stolen time. The news broke on a Wednesday morning. Valerie was at her desk when her phone started buzzing with notifications. Text messages from former college friends, emails from distant relatives she hadn't heard from in years, even a voicemail from a reporter asking for comment. She opened Twitter and saw her own face staring back at her from a trending topic. Hale Harris. Breaking Chicago billionaire. Frederick Hale confirms secret daughter. DNA test proves executive assistant Valerie Collins is his biological child from decades-old affair. Her stomach dropped. The article had everything. Photos of her and Frederick at the cemetery in Willow Creek. Details about Elena's death. Speculation about inheritance and corporate succession. Someone had been following them. Before Valerie could process what was happening, Frederick's office door slammed open so hard it bounced off the wall. Veronica Hale stormed in like a hurricane, her designer heels clicking furiously across the marble floor. You've got to be kidding me. Veronica's voice could probably be heard 3 floors down. She was 32, impeccably dressed in a blood-red power suit, with her mother Constance's sharp features and her father's cold eyes. "This is how I find out. From a goddamn news alert." Frederick stood from his desk, his face carefully neutral. "Veronica, I was planning to tell the family this week. Were you? Or were you hoping to sneak your little pet project into the will without anyone noticing?" Veronica's gaze snapped to Valerie, who'd frozen at her desk in the outer office. "So you're the one, the gold digger who played the long game." "That's enough," Frederick said sharply. "Is it? Because from where I'm standing, this looks like a pretty convenient story. Poor girl with a sad background. Works her way into your office, and suddenly, surprise, she's your long-lost daughter." Veronica laughed bitterly. "How much did you pay for that DNA test? I know labs that'll say whatever you want if the price is right." Valerie found her voice. "The DNA test was legitimate. I'm his daughter." "Oh, she speaks. Tell me, sweetheart, when did you figure out who he was? Before or after you applied for the job?" "I had no idea until 3 months ago." "Sure you didn't, and I'm the Queen of England." Veronica turned back to Frederick. "Uncle Frederick, please tell me you're not actually stupid enough to believe this." "I've seen the proof," Frederick said coldly. "Medical records, birth certificates, Elena's letters. Constance confessed to intercepting them before she died. You know this. Your mother told you everything." Something flickered in Veronica's eyes, too quick to identify. But it was there. "My mother was dying and on heavy medication. She wasn't thinking clearly. She was clear enough to write out a detailed confession and have it witnessed by her nurse, which proves nothing except that she felt guilty about some ancient family drama. That doesn't make this woman your daughter. The DNA doesn't lie, Veronica. DNA can be manufactured, evidence can be planted, people can be bought." Veronica's voice dropped to something dangerous. "How much is she getting? What percentage of the company?" "That's none of your concern." "The hell it isn't. I've worked for this company since I graduated college. I've given 10 years of my life to Hale Construction, and now some random assistant shows up claiming to be your kid, and I'm supposed to just smile and accept it. You've worked here, yes, but you've also been drawing a 6-figure salary while doing the bare minimum. Don't pretend this is about dedication." Veronica's face flushed red. "You're really going to do this? You're going to throw away everything my mother built, everything your sister sacrificed for this family, for some stranger?" "Valerie isn't a stranger. She's my daughter. And yes, she will be included in my will. The board meeting next month will make it official. She's being added as a minor shareholder and potential successor." The silence that followed was deadly. Veronica stared at Frederick like she'd never seen him before. Her perfectly manicured hands clenched into fists at her sides. "You're going to regret this," she said quietly. "Both of you." She turned on her heel and left, the door slamming behind her hard enough to rattle the windows. Valerie realized she'd been holding her breath. "That went well." Frederick rubbed his face tiredly. "I should have told her privately first. I'm sorry you had to witness that. How did the press find out? We were careful in Willow Creek." "I don't know, but I'm going to find out." He picked up his phone and started making calls. To his lawyer, to his head of security, to the PR department. Within an hour, the office was in controlled chaos. By Friday, things had gotten worse. Someone, no prizes for guessing who, had leaked Valerie's employment records to the media, highlighting that she'd been hired 6 months ago with no prior executive assistant experience. Never mind that she'd worked as an assistant for 3 years at another firm. The narrative was already spinning out of control. Mystery heiress fast-tracked through company, despite thin resume Hale Industries insider. Nobody knew who she really was, DNA or dynasty. Questions swirl around billionaire's sudden daughter Valerie couldn't walk to the coffee machine without feeling eyes on her. Colleagues who'd been friendly before now whispered when she passed. Someone left a printed article on her desk with "Gold Digger" written across it in red marker. "Ignore them," Frederick advised when she showed him. "They'll move on to the next scandal soon enough." But it wasn't just office gossip. Valerie's social media was flooded with messages, some supportive, most cruel. Strangers felt entitled to weigh in on her legitimacy, her mother's character, her own morality. One particularly nasty commenter suggested Elena had deliberately gotten pregnant to trap a rich man. Valerie deleted her accounts entirely. The following Monday, Valerie discovered someone had sabotaged her computer. Files were corrupted, emails deleted, presentations she'd been working on vanished completely. It spent 3 hours recovering what they could. It was definitely internal, the tech guy told her quietly. Someone with administrator access. Tuesday brought a leak of financial documents, heavily edited to make it look like Frederick had been funneling company money to Valerie for months. Never mind that the transactions were actually her regular salary. By the time the accounting department issued corrections, the damage was done. Wednesday, Valerie arrived at work to find her desk drawers rifled through and her personal photos missing, including the only picture she'd kept of her mother. "This has to stop," she told Frederick, fighting back tears. "She's escalating." "I know." Frederick's jaw was tight. "I've hired a security firm to investigate, and I'm having the board meeting moved up. The sooner we make your position official, the sooner Veronica will realize she can't bully you away." But Veronica wasn't done. Thursday afternoon, Valerie received an email from a company-wide address. Just a reminder that nepotism policies are outlined in Section 4.7 of the Employee Handbook. All employees should be hired based on merit, not personal relationships. Some of us earned our positions. Others had them handed over on a silver DNA platter. The email wasn't signed, but everyone knew who'd sent it. Hale launched an investigation, but by then the damage was done. Valerie could barely walk through the office without feeling like she was on trial. Friday evening. As Valerie was leaving work, Veronica cornered her in the parking garage. Gone was the polished corporate veneer. Veronica looked wild, desperate. "You think you've won?" Veronica hissed, blocking Valerie's path to her car. "You think you can just waltz in here and take everything that should be mine? I'm not trying to take anything from you. Liar, you've been planning this from the start. Poor little orphan girl with the sad story. Did you practice your tears in the mirror? Get your performance just right. Move, Veronica. My mother spent her entire life protecting this family. She made sacrifices you can't even imagine. And I'll be damned if I let some nobody destroy her legacy." Something in Veronica's tone made Valerie's skin crawl. "What sacrifices?" Veronica smiled coldly. "Ask your precious daddy about what my mother was willing to do to keep this family safe. Ask him what really happened to poor Elena Collins." Before Valerie could respond, Veronica walked away, her laughter echoing through the concrete garage. Valerie sat in her car for 20 minutes, hands shaking on the steering wheel, Veronica's words playing on repeat. Ask him what really happened to poor Elena Collins. It was probably nothing, just Veronica trying to get under her skin. But that night, alone in her apartment, Valerie couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her mother's death than anyone had told her, and she was going to find out what. Valerie's apartment was in a quiet neighborhood in Lincoln Park. Nothing fancy, but safe and comfortable. She'd lived there for 3 years without incident. The building had security cameras, a doorman during the day, and neighbors who actually said hello in the hallways. That's why walking into chaos felt like stepping into a nightmare. She knew something was wrong the moment she turned her key. The door was already unlocked, hanging slightly ajar. Her heartbeat kicked into overdrive. She should have called the police right then, should have turned around and run. But all she could think was, my mother's things are in there. Valerie pushed the door open slowly. Hello. No answer. Just the sound of her own breathing and the distant hum of traffic outside. The living room looked like a tornado had torn through it. Her couch cushions were slashed open, stuffing scattered across the floor like snow, books pulled from shelves and torn apart, pages littering every surface. Her TV screen was shattered, a spider web of cracks radiating from a central impact point. Even the plants were destroyed. Dirt spilled everywhere, pots smashed to pieces. But it was the walls that made her stomach drop. Someone had spray-painted words in angry red letters. Fake, liar, gold digger, go home. Valerie's hands shook as she pulled out her phone, but she couldn't make herself dial 911 yet. She had to see, had to know if they'd taken what mattered most. The bedroom was worse. Her clothes were ripped from the closet and shredded. Her mattress had been slashed repeatedly, the cuts deep and violent, drawers pulled out and dumped, their contents scattered and destroyed. Every picture frame was broken, glass everywhere, and there, in the center of her bed, was what they'd really come for. Her mother's journal, the one Elena had kept during Valerie's childhood, was torn to pieces. individual pages scattered across the destroyed mattress. Some of them burnt the edges. Her grandmother's handwritten recipes, passed down through 3 generations, shredded beyond recognition. The letters her mother had written but never sent to Frederick, opened and defaced with black marker. But the worst, the absolute worst, was the dress. The white dress with embroidered flowers. The one her grandmother had sewn by hand. The one from the photograph. The last physical piece of her mother that Valerie had managed to preserve through foster care, through moving apartments, through every difficult year since Elena's death. Someone had cut it into pieces. Deliberate, careful cuts. Each embroidered flower separated from the fabric. The hem in strips. The collar destroyed completely. 27 years of love and memory, reduced to scraps of cloth scattered across her bedroom floor. Valerie's legs gave out. She sank to her knees among the destruction, picking up pieces of the dress with shaking hands. A sleeve, part of the bodice, a flower that her grandmother had spent hours embroidering, now attached to nothing. She didn't realize she was crying until her tears started falling onto the fabric scraps in her hands. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "This is just the beginning. Leave while you still can." Valerie stared at the message, something cold settling in her chest alongside the grief. This wasn't random. This wasn't even about scaring her away from the company. This was personal. This was meant to destroy the last connection she had to her mother, to make her feel as alone and powerless as Elena must have felt when those men showed up in Willow Creek. With shaking fingers, she dialed Frederick. He answered on the first ring. "Valerie, what's wrong?" "Someone broke into my apartment." Her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. "They destroyed everything. Mom's journal, the dress, everything. Don't touch anything else. I'm sending security right now and I'm calling the police." "Are you safe? Are they still there?" "I don't know. I don't think so." "Get out of the apartment. Go to the lobby. I'll be there in 15 minutes. "Dad?" Her voice broke on the word. "They cut up the dress. Mom's dress from the photo. It's destroyed." Silence on the other end. Then, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. But right now, I need you to leave the apartment. Can you do that for me?" Valerie nodded, then realized he couldn't see her. "Yeah, I'm going." She gathered what pieces of the dress she could carry, stuffing them into her purse with the torn pages from her mother's journal. Then she walked through the destruction one more time, documenting everything with her phone's camera. The spray-painted walls, the slashed furniture, the threatening message still glowing on her phone screen. In the kitchen, she found more damage. Every plate and glass smashed. The refrigerator door hanging open. Contents dumped on the floor and on the counter, arranged in a neat line. Photographs of her and Frederick in Willow Creek. Someone had been following them for weeks, documenting their visits to Elena's grave, their dinners together, their Saturday trips to the places her mother had loved. Each photo had a red X drawn over Valerie's face. The doorman in the lobby looked shocked when he saw her. "Miss Collins, are you all right? You look..." "Someone broke into my apartment. The police are coming." "What?" "But I've been here all afternoon. Nobody went up without checking in. Check the service entrance. Check the footage." Frederick arrived before the police did, followed by 2 men in suits who looked like they ate nails for breakfast. His private security team. He took one look at Valerie's face and pulled her into a hug. She held on to him like a lifeline, the pieces of her mother's dress still clutched in one hand. "It was Veronica," Valerie said into his shoulder. "It had to be. We don't know that yet. Who else would it be? Who else would know exactly what to destroy to hurt me the most?" Frederick had no answer for that. The police came. They took statements, photographed everything, dusted for prints they probably wouldn't find. One of the officers, a woman with kind eyes, sat with Valerie while she explained about the dress, the journal, the threatening text. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight?" the officer asked. "She's staying with me," Frederick said, before Valerie could answer. "I have a security system and a guest room." Valerie was too exhausted to argue. While the police worked, Frederick's security team reviewed the building's footage. The head of security, a former FBI agent named Marcus Chen, found what they were looking for within an hour. "Service entrance," he said, showing them the footage on his tablet. 2 men, both wearing maintenance uniforms and carrying toolboxes, They went up the service elevator at 2:47 p.m., came back down at 4:23 p.m., 96 minutes to do all that damage. Can you see their faces? They were smart, kept their heads down, caps pulled low. But look here. He zoomed in on one man's hand. Distinctive tattoo on the wrist. We can work with that. I want to know who they are by morning, Frederick said, his voice hard. And I want to know who hired them. We'll find them. Mr. Hale. By midnight, Valerie was sitting in Frederick's penthouse, wrapped in a blanket, staring at the pieces of her mother's dress spread across his dining room table. Frederick had made tea, badly, but she appreciated the effort. I can't believe it's gone, she said quietly. That dress was the last thing I had that she actually touched, that she wore, that her mother made for her with love. And now it's just pieces. Frederick sat beside her. We'll find who did this, and they'll pay for it. It doesn't matter. Nothing will bring it back. Valerie picked up a scrap with part of an embroidered rose. Do you know what she told me about this dress? She said her mother made it for her 6th birthday. Sewed every flower by hand while listening to the radio. It took 3 months, and when Elena was pregnant with me and couldn't afford new clothes, she wore this dress until it didn't fit anymore. Then she saved it. For me, Valerie. She saved it through everything. Through being threatened by those men. Through raising me alone. Through being so poor that sometimes we ate cereal for dinner 3 nights in a row. She kept this dress safe because it meant something. Because it was love made tangible. Valerie's voice cracked. And someone destroyed it to make a point. Frederick's jaw tightened. Tomorrow, I'm moving up the board meeting, and I'm hiring round-the-clock security for you. This ends now. She's not going to stop. Then we'll make her. Valerie looked at him. This man who'd missed 27 years of her life, but was here now. Fury in his eyes at what had been done to his daughter. Thank you for coming, for being here. There's nowhere else I'd be. He squeezed her hand. Your mother kept that dress safe for you. She'd be proud of how strong you've been through all of this. I don't feel strong. I feel destroyed. Strength isn't about not breaking. It's about what you do after. Valerie nodded, too tired to argue. She gathered the pieces of the dress carefully, placing them in a box Frederick found. Maybe someone could reconstruct it, maybe not. But she'd keep every scrap. The way her mother had kept every memory of a love that should have been. Outside Frederick's windows, Chicago glittered in the darkness. Somewhere out there, someone was celebrating the destruction they'd caused. But they'd made a mistake. They'd pushed too far, and now Valerie wasn't just fighting for her place in Frederick's life. She was fighting for justice for her mother. Marcus Chen called at 6:47 a.m. Valerie was already awake, sitting in Frederick's guest room, staring at the box of dress scraps she'd placed on the nightstand. She answered on the first ring. We found the men from the security footage, Marcus said without preamble. Professional contractors. They do this kind of work. Intimidation, property destruction. For cash, no questions asked. Do they know who hired them? They were contacted through an encrypted app. Payment in Bitcoin. But here's the thing. One of them got sloppy. He used his personal phone to take photos of the destruction. Sent them to someone before deleting the conversation. We recovered the number. Valerie's heart pounded. And it's registered to a shell company. We're tracing it now. But Miss Collins, there's something else. Something bigger. What? Mr. Hale should hear this too. Can you put me on speaker? Frederick appeared in the doorway, already dressed in a suit. Despite the early hour, Valerie switched to speakerphone. Go ahead, Marcus. My team started digging deeper into Constance Hale's activities around the time Elena Collins died. We wanted to see if there was a pattern of behavior. Threats, payments, anything suspicious. And Frederick's voice was tense. We found a payment, March 2003, $50,000 from Constance's personal account to a man named Robert Vance. We tracked Vance down. He's currently serving time for vehicular manslaughter in Iowa, different case. But when we showed him Elena's photo and mentioned Chicago, Willow Creek, and the year 2003, he got nervous. Valerie felt the floor tilt beneath her feet. What are you saying? I'm saying Vance was in Montana in March 2003. I'm saying he owned a dark blue pickup truck that matched witness descriptions from Elena's hit and run. And I'm saying that after Elena's death, He suddenly had enough money to disappear for 3 years before getting caught in another crime. "Oh my God." The words came out as a whisper. Valerie looked at Frederick, whose face had gone completely white. "Constance paid someone to kill her." Frederick's voice shook. "My sister had Elena murdered. We don't have definitive proof yet," Marcus cautioned. "Vance isn't talking. Yet. But we're building a case. The problem is, Constance is dead. We can't prosecute her. However what?" Valerie demanded. "However, Constance kept detailed records, just like she kept that journal about intercepting Elena's letter. If she documented the payment to Vance, she might have documented why, and if anyone knew about it, helped cover it up, or was complicit in any way. Veronica," Frederick's hands clenched into fists. "Veronica said her mother confessed everything before she died. What if everything included Elena's murder?" "That's exactly what we're thinking," Marcus confirmed. "We need to search Constance's personal effects, documents, computers, anything she might have kept. Where would those be?" "Veronica inherited everything," Frederick said. "Constance's house, her files, all of it. Then we need a warrant, or we need Veronica to voluntarily hand over the materials." Valerie laughed bitterly. "That's not going to happen." "No," Frederick agreed. "But there's another way. Constance had a storage unit. I have a key because I was executor of her estate. But Veronica took everything before I could sort through it properly. She said it was too painful to deal with. But she might not have gone through everything. There could be something there." "Is that legal?" Valerie asked. "It's my sister's estate. As executor, I have every legal right to access it." Frederick was already moving toward his bedroom. "Give me 10 minutes to change." "We're going now. Mr. Hale, I should advise, I don't care. If there's evidence that my sister murdered the woman I loved, I'm finding it today." The storage facility was in a bland industrial park in Schaumburg, 40 minutes from downtown. Frederick's hands were steady on the steering wheel, but Valerie could see the muscle jumping in his jaw, the way his knuckles were white from gripping too hard. "If this is true," Frederick said quietly, "if Constance really did this, then she was a monster." Valerie's voice was flat. "And we need to know if Veronica is too." The storage unit was medium-sized, crammed floor to ceiling with boxes. Frederick had the key, and the facility manager confirmed he was listed as having access. They spent 3 hours sorting through Constance's life. Old tax returns, photos from family vacations, business correspondence. Valerie was ready to give up when she found it. A small fireproof safe, hidden behind a stack of banker's boxes in the back corner. It had a combination lock. "Try her birthday," Valerie suggested. Frederick did. Nothing. He tried their father's birthday, her wedding anniversary, every significant date he could think of. Nothing worked. "Wait." Valerie pulled out her phone, checking the notes she'd made from Constance's journal. "Try October 15th, 1998, the day she intercepted Mom's letter." Frederick's fingers shook as he entered the combination. 10-15-98. The safe clicked open. Inside were folders, meticulously organized, labeled, dated. Frederick pulled them out with shaking hands. Spreading them across the concrete floor, the first folder was labeled Montana Problem, Resolved. Valerie opened it. Inside were bank statements showing the $50,000 payment to Robert Vance. But there was more. A typed letter from Constance to Vance with specific instructions, target location, time windows when Elena would be walking home from school, the necessity of making it look like an accident. "She planned it," Valerie whispered. "She planned my mother's murder in detail." Frederick was reading another document, his face gray. "There's a note here, in Constance's handwriting. It says Frederick cannot know the child exists. As long as Elena Collins is alive, she's a threat to everything we've built. The girl will be orphaned, taken by state services, and Frederick will never find her. Problem solved permanently. She wanted me to disappear." Valerie felt numb. "She murdered my mother to erase me from your life." "God, Valerie, I'm so sorry. Frederick's voice broke. He pulled her into his arms, both of them kneeling on the cold concrete floor surrounded by evidence of his sister's monstrous crimes. But Valerie pulled back, her attention caught by another folder. This one was labeled Insurance. V knows. She opened it. Inside was a letter dated 3 weeks before Constance's death, addressed to Veronica, my darling daughter. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. I want you to understand why I did what I did, and why you must protect our family from any future threats. In 2003, I learned that Elena Collins was planning to come to Chicago. She'd hired a lawyer, was preparing to demand paternity testing, was going to destroy Frederick's marriage and reputation. I couldn't allow it. I contacted Robert Vance, a reliable contractor I'd used before for sensitive matters. He handled it cleanly. A hit and run. No witnesses. Case went cold. The child went into foster care. I thought that was the end of it. But Frederick found her anyway. If he tries to legitimize her, to give her any part of our empire, you must stop him, by any means necessary. I've left you all my records. If you need to defend our family's interests, use them. The Hale legacy is more important than one girl's claim to belonging. All my love, Mother. She told Veronica everything, Valerie said, her voice hollow. And she told her to stop me, by any means necessary. Frederick was already on the phone with Marcus. Get over here now and bring the police. We have evidence of conspiracy to murder. Wait, Valerie grabbed his arm. If Veronica knows about the murder, and if she's following her mother's instructions, then she's not just sabotaging you professionally. She's dangerous, actually dangerous. Frederick's face hardened. Marcus, send security to Miss Hale's office and residence immediately. Do not let her destroy any evidence, and yes, I'm aware this will tip her off. Do it anyway. He hung up and looked at Valerie. We're taking all of this to the police. Today. Constance murdered your mother, and Veronica knew about it. They're both going to pay. Constance is already dead. Then Veronica pays for both of them. For the murder, for the cover-up, for destroying your apartment. For every threat and every lie. Frederick gathered the folders carefully. Your mother deserves justice, even if it's 22 years late. Valerie looked at the letter again, at Constance's neat handwriting, justifying murder as protecting the family. She thought about her mother, walking home from teaching first graders, never knowing that someone had paid $50,000 to end her life, never knowing that her daughter would grow up alone, bouncing through foster homes, believing she'd been abandoned by a father who'd actually been kept in the dark. She didn't just kill my mother, Valerie said quietly. She stole 27 years from all of us, and she did it without regret. I know. Frederick's hand was gentle on her shoulder, but we're going to make sure everyone knows the truth. About her, about Veronica, about all of it. I promise you that. They locked the storage unit and drove back to Chicago in silence. The evidence of Constance Hale's crimes sitting in the back seat like an accusation against an entire family's legacy by the time they reached the police station. Marcus was waiting with 2 detectives from the cold case unit. Frederick laid out everything. The letters, the bank statements, the confession, the connection to Robert Vance, the detective in charge, a weathered woman named Sandra Mills, listened to everything before speaking. This is one hell of a case to land on my desk 22 years later, she said. But if what you're telling me is true, we've got enough to reopen Elena Collins' death as a homicide. And if Veronica Hale knew about her mother's crimes and has been following similar instructions, she's an accessory after the fact, the other detective finished. At minimum. We need to move fast, Marcus said. My team is at Veronica's office and home, but she's not at either location. Her phone's off. She's in the wind. Detective Mills stood. Then let's go find her, before she destroys any more evidence or hurts anyone else. The call came 3 hours later. Veronica had been spotted at O'Hare Airport, trying to board a flight to the Cayman Islands under her mother's maiden name. Tessa had flagged her passport as suspicious and detained her for questioning by the time Detective Mills arrived with an arrest warrant. Veronica was sitting in a small interrogation room, her expensive designer suit rumpled, mascara smudged under her eyes. "I want my lawyer," were the first words out of her mouth when Mills entered. "That's your right," Mills said calmly, sitting across from her. "But I thought you might want to know that we've opened a homicide investigation into Elena Collins' death, and we have evidence linking your mother to the murder." Veronica's face went carefully blank. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really? Because we found some very interesting documents in your mother's storage unit. Letters, bank statements, a confession addressed specifically to you, telling you all about how she paid Robert Vance $50,000 to run Elena Collins down and make it look like an accident. That's a lie. We have the letter in your mother's handwriting. We have the bank records. We have Vance's name. And he's already being transported here from Iowa to give his statement. Mills leaned forward. What we want to know is, what did you know? And when did you know it? I want my lawyer, Veronica repeated. But her voice shook. Frederick and Valerie watched from behind the two-way mirror. Valerie's hands were clenched so tight her nails cut into her palms. She knew, Valerie said quietly. Look at her face. She knew everything. Frederick's jaw was tight. The question is whether she just knew or whether she actively participated in covering it up. Marcus Chen appeared beside them. We've been going through Veronica's personal computers and phone records, found some interesting things. Want to see? He pulled up his tablet, showing them a series of text messages from Veronica to an unknown number, dating back 3 months, right around when Frederick had first discovered Valerie's existence. She's a threat, just like her mother was. My mother handled the Elena problem. I can handle this one too. How much to make someone go away? Not permanently. Just encouraged to leave town. The responses were equally damning. Depends on the level of encouragement you want. Property destruction, $10K. Physical intimidation, $25K. Permanent solution, K. Oh my God, Valerie whispered. She was pricing out having me killed. It gets worse, Marcus said grimly. He scrolled to more recent messages. From 2 days ago, the day before Valerie's apartment was destroyed. Forget subtlety. I want her to know this is personal. Destroy everything that mattered to her mother. Make her feel what it's like to lose everything. Frederick's face had gone from pale to red. She ordered the break-in. She specifically targeted Elena's belongings. That's accessory to burglary at minimum, Marcus confirmed. Combined with the evidence that she knew about her mother's murder and potentially planned similar violence against Valerie, we're looking at conspiracy charges, possibly attempted murder depending on how the DA wants to play it, in the interrogation room. Veronica's lawyer had arrived. A slick corporate attorney named Gerald Winters who looked like he charged $1,000 just to say hello. He conferred with Veronica in whispers for several minutes before addressing Detective Mills. My client is willing to cooperate in exchange for immunity. Immunity, Mills laughed. She's not in a position to negotiate immunity, but if she wants to make a statement, I'm listening, Winters whispered to Veronica again. She shook her head violently, but he kept talking, and eventually she slumped in her chair, defeated. Fine, Veronica said, her voice hollow. I'll tell you everything, but I want it on record that I never actually hurt anyone. I didn't kill Elena Collins. That was all my mother. Start from the beginning, Mills said, turning on the recording device. When did you first learn about Elena Collins and her daughter? Veronica took a shaky breath. 3 weeks before my mother died. She called me to her hospital room and told me everything. About Elena, about the baby, about how she'd paid Robert Vance to make the problem go away. She said she was telling me because Frederick was asking questions, hiring investigators, and if he ever found the daughter, I needed to be ready. Ready to do what? To protect the family legacy, to make sure some nobody from Montana didn't take what should rightfully be mine. Veronica's voice turned bitter. I've given 10 years to that company. 10 years of working my way up, proving myself, earning my place. And then this girl shows up out of nowhere with a convenient sob story, and suddenly she's Frederick's heir. No, that wasn't happening. So you sabotaged her, Mills said. I made her uncomfortable. There's a difference. I leaked some employment records, spread some rumors, made sure people knew she hadn't earned her position. That's not illegal. It's corporate politics. What about the break-in? Veronica hesitated. Behind the mirror, Valerie held her breath. I didn't intend for it to go that far. I contacted someone who does security work. I told him I wanted to send a message, make her understand she wasn't welcome. I didn't specifically tell him to destroy personal belongings, but you knew what kind of message he typically sends, Mills pressed. I knew there might be property damage. I didn't know he'd target her mother's things specifically. Liar, Valerie whispered. Marcus showed her his tablet again, pointing to the message. Destroy everything that mattered to her mother. Mills was reading from the same messages now. These texts say otherwise. You specifically requested that he target Elena Collins's belongings. You wanted to hurt her emotionally." Veronica's face crumpled. "She was taking everything from me, everything my mother worked for, everything she sacrificed." "Your mother was a murderer," Mills said flatly. "She didn't sacrifice. She killed an innocent woman to protect her family's money and reputation. And you were following in her footsteps." "I never killed anyone." "No, but you knew your mother had, and you covered it up. That makes you an accessory after the fact to murder. And you hired people to terrorize and potentially harm Valerie Collins, following your mother's playbook. That makes you guilty of conspiracy." Veronica's lawyer tried to interrupt, but Mills held up her hand. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell us everything. Every conversation with your mother. Every text message, every payment you made to intimidate Miss Collins. In exchange, we might recommend reduced charges. But immunity, that ship sailed when you ordered someone to destroy her apartment." Veronica stared at the table for a long moment. Then she started talking. She told them everything. How Constance had confessed to Elena's murder with pride in her voice, calling it necessary for the family's survival. How Constance had given Veronica access to all her old records, including the correspondence with Vance, the bank statements, the planning documents for the hit and run. "She told me to keep them as insurance," Veronica said, "in case Frederick ever found the daughter and tried to legitimize her. She said I could use the records to threaten him, that if he tried to include Valerie in the will, I could expose that he'd driven Elena Collins to her death by abandoning her. Except he didn't abandon her," Mills said. "Your mother made sure he never knew about the pregnancy. I know that now. But at the time, Mother made it sound like Frederick was complicit. Like he'd known and chosen money over love. She painted him as weak, and Elena as opportunistic. I believed her." Veronica wiped her eyes. "I believed everything she told me because she was my mother. And when Valerie showed up, I saw her as a threat to everything I'd worked for." "So you tried to drive her away?" "Yes. The leaks to the press, the sabotage at work, the apartment, all of it was me trying to make her leave before Frederick could officially add her to the will. I thought if I could make her uncomfortable enough, she'd take whatever settlement Frederick offered and disappear." "Did you ever plan to physically harm her?" Veronica looked up sharply. "No, never. I wanted her gone, but I didn't want her dead. I'm not my mother." Mills studied her for a long moment. "We'll see about that." Behind the mirror, Valerie felt her legs give out. Frederick caught her, easing her into a chair. "She knew," Valerie said, her voice breaking. "She knew her mother murdered mine, and she tried to do the same thing. Maybe not murder, but she tried to erase me, just like Constance erased Mom." Frederick's face was gray, tears streaming down his cheeks. "I brought this into your life. My family, my sister's crimes, all of it. You'd have been better off if you'd never found out who I was." "No," Valerie gripped his hand. "Don't you dare say that. You didn't do this. Constance did. Veronica did. Not you. But I could have prevented it. If I'd been braver 27 years ago. If Constance hadn't been a monster," Valerie interrupted. "If she hadn't intercepted that letter. If she hadn't hired Vance. If. We can play that game forever, but it doesn't change anything. What matters is that we know the truth now. Mom's death wasn't an accident, and everyone who was involved is going to face consequences." Frederick pulled her close, and they held onto each other while Detective Mills continued questioning Veronica, extracting every detail of her involvement in covering up a murder and terrorizing an innocent woman. By the time Mills finished, 6 hours had passed. Veronica was formally arrested and charged with conspiracy, accessory after the fact to murder, harassment, burglary, and a dozen other charges. Her bail was set at $2 million, outside the police station. Reporters had gathered, having gotten wind of the dramatic arrest. Frederick and Valerie pushed through them without comment, climbing into the car where Marcus waited. "It's over," Marcus said as he pulled away from the curb. "Veronica's going to prison. Vance is cooperating in exchange for a reduced sentence, and Elena Collins's case is being officially reopened as a homicide with Constance Hale named as the primary suspect. Justice," Valerie said quietly. 22 years late, but finally justice for my mother." Frederick squeezed her hand. "She'd be proud of you, for fighting, for not giving up." She'd be proud of both of us, Valerie corrected, for finally finding each other. They drove through Chicago as the sun set, painting the skyline in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere in the city, Veronica Hale sat in a jail cell, facing the consequences of following her mother's evil playbook. Somewhere in Montana, Elena Collins's grave waited for someone to tell her that her death had finally been avenged. But in that car, father and daughter sat together, survivors of a family's cruelty, ready to build something new from the ashes of the past. The next 2 weeks moved like a carefully orchestrated symphony. Frederick's legal team worked around the clock preparing the case against Veronica, while simultaneously handling the media firestorm that had erupted around the Hale family. Every major news outlet wanted the story. The secret daughter, the decades-old murder, the family conspiracy. Valerie stayed at Frederick's penthouse, partly for security, and partly because neither of them wanted to be alone. They'd developed a routine. Breakfast together at 7, where they'd read the morning papers and strategize about the day ahead. Frederick would go to the office while Valerie worked with the lawyers, reviewing testimony and evidence. Dinner at 8, where they'd talk about anything except the case. Memories of Elena, stories from Frederick's youth, plans for the future they were fighting to secure. Robert Vance agreed to testify, Frederick announced one morning over coffee. Full cooperation in exchange for a reduced sentence on his current charges and immunity for the Elena Collins murder. Valerie's hand trembled, nearly spilling her coffee. He's actually going to admit he killed her. In detail, the DA met with him yesterday. He's prepared to describe how Constance contacted him, what she paid, how he stalked your mother to learn her routine, and how he deliberately ran her down on March 14th, 2003, at approximately 5:47 p.m. on Oakwood Street in Willow Creek. The specifics made it real in a way the documents hadn't. Valerie could picture it. Her mother walking home from school, probably thinking about what to make for dinner, maybe humming one of the songs she used to sing, never seeing the truck until it was too late. "I'm sorry," Frederick said quietly, seeing her expression. "I know this is hard." "It's necessary." Valerie set down her coffee cup with determination. "Vance needs to tell the truth. Mom deserves that." The emergency board meeting was scheduled for Friday afternoon. Frederick had called it under the guise of addressing recent allegations and ensuring corporate governance, but everyone knew what it was really about: officially recognizing Valerie as his heir and removing Veronica from any position of authority in the company. Veronica's lawyer is trying to negotiate, Marcus Chen reported during one of their strategy sessions. He wants her out on bail, wants the charges reduced to simple harassment, wants to keep the murder conspiracy off the table entirely. "Absolutely not," Frederick said flatly. She knew about Elena's murder for months and did nothing. She actively tried to intimidate and harm Valerie, following her mother's playbook exactly. She faces the full consequences. Her lawyer is claiming she was manipulated by Constance, that she was essentially groomed to see the Collins family as threats rather than victims. That might explain her behavior. But it doesn't excuse it. Frederick's voice was steel. Veronica is 32 years old. She had every opportunity to do the right thing and chose not to. She terrorized my daughter instead. Valerie appreciated Frederick's fierce protectiveness, but part of her almost felt sorry for Veronica. Almost. Then she'd remember the destroyed apartment, the shredded dress, the threatening messages, and the sympathy would evaporate. "What about the board members?" Valerie asked. "Are they going to fight my inclusion in the will?" "Some will," Frederick admitted, particularly the ones who were loyal to Constance. "But I've spent the last 2 weeks having private conversations, laying out the evidence, explaining the DNA results. Most of them understand that you're my legitimate daughter and deserve recognition. And the ones who don't understand, they'll be outvoted. I still control 48% of the company shares. With the neutral board members on our side, we have the majority. Still, Frederick wasn't taking chances. He'd hired a jury consultant to help them understand how the board members thought, what arguments would persuade them, what objections they might raise. They'd practiced responses to every possible challenge. "What if they bring up the timing?" Valerie asked during one practice session. "What if they claim I deliberately sought you out? That I knew who you were before I applied for the job? Then we show them the employment records proving you applied through the standard HR process, 6 months before I discovered your identity. We show them the DNA test timeline. We show them Constance's confession proving that you were deliberately kept from knowing about me. What if they say I'm unqualified to inherit? Then I remind them that inheritance isn't about qualification. It's about family. You're my daughter. This company is your birthright. Just as much as it would have been Veronica's if she hadn't turned out to be a criminal. They practiced for hours each day, Valerie sitting in a chair while Frederick's lawyers pelted her with hostile questions, teaching her to stay calm, to stick to the facts, to not let emotion cloud her responses. Remember, the lead lawyer, Patricia Valdez, coached her. They're going to try to paint you as opportunistic. They'll suggest you're a gold digger who fabricated this whole story. You need to stay above that. Be honest. Be emotional when appropriate, but don't get defensive. How do I not get defensive when they're calling my mother a liar? By remembering that the truth is on your side. The DNA doesn't lie. Constance's confession doesn't lie. Your mother's journal doesn't lie. Let the evidence speak for itself. The media attention only intensified as the board meeting approached. Reporters camped outside Frederick's building, calling out questions whenever he or Valerie appeared. Social media exploded with opinions. Some supporting Valerie as the wronged daughter finally getting justice. Others painting her as a scheming opportunist who destroyed a respectable family. The most painful were the comments about her mother. People who'd never met Valerie Collins felt entitled to judge her, to speculate about her motives, to suggest she'd deliberately gotten pregnant to trap a rich man. Don't read the comments, Frederick advised after finding Valerie crying over particularly vicious posts. People say terrible things online because they can hide behind anonymity. They don't know your mother. They don't know you. They're not worth your tears. But what if the board believes that narrative? What if they think Mom was some kind of schemer? Then we show them her journal. We show them her life. A dedicated teacher who raised you alone with dignity and love, who never asked me for a dime because she thought I didn't want to be involved. Does that sound like a schemer to you? It didn't, of course. And when Patricia Valdez read selected passages from Elena's journal aloud during their practice sessions, even the most skeptical lawyers didn't, of course. And when Patricia Valdez read selected passages from Elena's journal aloud during their practice sessions, even the most skeptical lawyers were moved by her grace and strength. Your mother was remarkable, Patricia said after one particularly emotional reading. Any board member with a conscience will see that. The day before the board meeting, Frederick called Valerie into his home office. On his desk was a velvet box. "I wanted to give you this," he said, opening it to reveal a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant. A daisy, the same flowers that had been embroidered on Elena's dress. "I had it made from a photograph of the dress," Frederick explained. "I know we can't restore what was destroyed, but I wanted you to have something to carry with you. A reminder of her. And of everything you fought for." Valerie's eyes filled with tears as she took the necklace. "It's beautiful. Your mother loved daisies. She said they represented innocence and new beginnings." Frederick's voice was thick with emotion. "Tomorrow, when you walk into that boardroom, I want you wearing this. I want her with you. Will you help me put it on?" Frederick clasped the necklace around her neck, his hands gentle. When Valerie looked in the mirror, the daisy pendant rested right over her heart. "Perfect," Frederick said. "Just like her." That night, they stayed up late going over final preparations. Every document was organized, every argument rehearsed, every possible objection anticipated. Marcus Chen had guaranteed security at the board meeting. No surprises, no ambushes, no last-minute disasters. "Are you scared?" Valerie asked Frederick as midnight approached. "Terrified," he admitted. "Not of the board, of failing you, of not being able to give you what you deserve after everything you've lost. You've already given me everything that matters. You believed me. You fought for me. You chose me over your family's reputation." Valerie took his hand. "That's more than enough. Your mother chose you every single day. The least I can do is choose you now." They sat together in comfortable silence, father and daughter, preparing for the battle ahead. Outside, Chicago glittered in the darkness, indifferent to the drama unfolding in Frederick Hale's penthouse. Somewhere in a jail cell, Veronica waited for her trial. Somewhere in Montana, Elena's grave stood silent. But in that room, two people who'd found each other across 27 years of lies and loss steeled themselves for the confrontation that would determine their future. Tomorrow, the truth would be spoken in that boardroom. Tomorrow, Veronica's crimes would be exposed publicly. Tomorrow, Valerie Collins would officially become Valerie Hale, recognized heir to an empire built on her mother's stolen dreams. Tomorrow, justice would finally be served. But tonight, they simply sat together, drawing strength from each other, ready to face whatever came next. "Thank you," Valerie said quietly, "for everything." "No," Frederick replied, pulling her into a hug. "Thank you for giving me a second chance, for forgiving me, for being exactly who your mother raised you to be. Strong, kind, and unstoppable." They held each other as the clock struck midnight, marking the beginning of the day that would change everything. The boardroom on the 42nd floor was designed to intimidate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Chicago's skyline. A massive mahogany table that could seat 20. Leather chairs that probably cost more than most people's cars. Valerie had been in this room dozens of times as Frederick's assistant, serving coffee and taking notes while powerful people made decisions worth millions. Today, she sat at the table as an equal. Valerie touched the daisy pendant at her throat, feeling her mother's presence. Frederick sat beside her, his face composed but his hand reaching under the table to squeeze hers briefly, a silent message of support. The board members filed in one by one, 12 faces, some familiar, some not, some friendly, some openly hostile. Thomas Chen, the CFO who'd always been kind to Valerie, Margaret Winters, head of operations, who looked at her with barely concealed disdain, Robert Paulson, the oldest board member, who'd worked with Frederick's father and remembered Constance fondly. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," Frederick began, standing at the head of the table. "I've called this emergency meeting to address recent events that have significant implications for this company's leadership and succession planning. We've all seen the news." "Frederick," Margaret interrupted, "the question is whether we're supposed to believe this melodrama about secret daughters and murder conspiracies." "It's not melodrama," Frederick said coolly. "It's documented fact, which I'm about to present to you in detail." Patricia Valdez stood, clicking on the presentation screen. The first slide showed Valerie's birth certificate, with Elena Collins listed as mother and father unknown. On October 15, 1998, Patricia began. Elena Collins sent a letter to Frederick Hale informing him of her pregnancy. This letter was intercepted by Constance Hale, who destroyed it and paid 2 men to threaten Miss Collins into silence. The next slide showed Constance's journal entry, blown up large enough for everyone to read. Gasps rippled around the table. "That's a forgery," Margaret protested. "It has to be. It's been authenticated by 3 separate handwriting experts," Patricia countered, all of whom confirmed it was written by Constance Hale. "We also have testimony from Marcus Webb, the man Constance paid to intimidate Elena Collins." More slides. The DNA test results showing 99.9% probability of paternity. Photos of young Frederick and Elena in Montana. Elena's journal entries about her love for Frederick. Each piece of evidence built on the last, creating an undeniable narrative. "This is all very tragic," Robert Paulson said, his voice gravelly with age. "But it was 27 years ago. Why are we dealing with it now?" "Because 3 months ago, I discovered Valerie was my daughter," Frederick said. "And when I moved to include her in my will and recognize her as my heir, my niece Veronica responded by terrorizing her, following the same playbook her mother used against Elena." Patricia brought up the text messages between Veronica and the contractor she'd hired. The threats, the payment negotiations, the specific instruction to destroy everything that mattered to her mother. "Veronica Hale is currently in custody facing multiple charges," Patricia continued, "including accessory after the fact to murder." "Murder?" Thomas Chen looked shocked. "What murder?" "Elena Collins's death in 2003 was not an accident," Frederick said, his voice tight with controlled emotion. "It was a paid hit. My sister Constance hired a man named Robert Vance to run Elena down and make it look like a hit and run. We have bank records showing the $50,000 payment. We have Constance's own written admission, and we have Vance's testimony. He's cooperating fully with prosecutors." The room erupted, board members talking over each other, some demanding to see the evidence, others looking horrified, a few clearly calculating what this meant for the company's reputation. "Order." Frederick slammed his hand on the table. "I understand this is shocking, believe me, No one is more devastated than I am to learn what my sister was capable of. But the facts are indisputable. Constance Hale murdered Elena Collins to prevent her from claiming me as the father of her child. And Veronica Hale knew about this crime and attempted to cover it up while simultaneously terrorizing my daughter. Your alleged daughter, Margaret corrected. A woman who conveniently showed up after working her way into your employment. I didn't know who he was. Valerie spoke for the first time, her voice strong and clear. I applied for this job through the standard HR process, 6 months before Frederick discovered my identity. I had no idea my boss was my father until he showed me a photograph that should have been impossible for him to have. A photograph can be faked. The DNA can't be. Patricia clicked to a new slide showing the laboratory results in technical detail. 3 separate tests, 3 separate laboratories, all confirming paternity. There is zero doubt that Valerie Collins is Frederick Hale's biological daughter. Then why come forward now? Robert Paulson asked, not unkindly. Why not years ago? Because I didn't know, Valerie said, her hand moving to the daisy pendant. My mother died when I was 5. She never told me who my father was, because men paid by Constance Hale convinced her that Frederick wanted nothing to do with us. She believed that lie until the day she died, and I grew up believing I'd been abandoned by a father who didn't care. Her voice broke. But she pushed through. When Frederick showed me proof that he never knew about me, that his sister deliberately kept us apart, I had to decide whether to accept this new reality or walk away. I could have walked away. God knows it would have been easier. But Frederick is my father, and my mother loved him until her last breath. I owe it to both of them to claim that truth. The room was silent. Even Margaret looked uncomfortable. The question before this board, Frederick said, is simple. Do you accept the evidence that Valerie is my daughter? And if so, do you support my decision to include her as a named heir and potential successor? What about Veronica's shares? Thomas Chen asked. She owns 12% of the company, which will be forfeit upon her conviction, Patricia said. Those shares will revert to the company and be redistributed according to the existing shareholder agreement. I move to accept the evidence as presented, Thomas said, and to formally recognize Valerie Collins, Valerie Hale, as Frederick's daughter and rightful heir. Seconded, said another board member, a quiet woman named Janet Liu who ran the company's charitable foundation. All in favor? Frederick asked. 8 hands went up, 4 remained down. Margaret and 3 others who'd been close to Constance. The motion carries, Frederick said. Valerie is officially recognized as my daughter and will be added to the succession plan as primary heir. Margaret stood abruptly. This is a mistake. We're opening ourselves up to lawsuits, to accusations of nepotism. We're correcting a 27-year-old injustice, Frederick interrupted. And if you can't support that, Margaret, perhaps you should reconsider your position on this board. Margaret's face flushed red, but she sat down. The meeting continued for another hour. Working through the logistics, Valerie would receive a 20% stake in the company, equal to what Veronica had held before her arrest. She would be added to the board as a junior member, with full voting rights. Her employment contract would be revised to reflect her new status. One more thing, Frederick said as the meeting wound down. The police investigation into Constance's crimes is ongoing. There may be more revelations. The media attention will be intense. I expect every member of this board to support the company through this crisis, and to treat Valerie with the respect she deserves as my daughter and as a victim of my family's crimes. Here? Thomas Chen said quietly, as the board members filed out. Some stopped to shake Valerie's hand or offer quiet congratulations. Margaret left without a word. But Valerie didn't care. She'd won. More importantly, her mother had won. The truth was finally public. Elena Collins had loved a man who loved her back. She'd been murdered trying to protect her daughter, and that daughter had just been formally recognized as an heir to an empire. Robert Paulson was the last to leave. He paused by Valerie's chair, his weathered face thoughtful. I knew your mother, he said quietly. I was at that Montana project. I saw her with Frederick. She was a lovely woman, kind, smart, funny. She made him happy in a way I'd never seen before or since. He cleared his throat gruffly. I'm sorry for what my friend Constance did to her. And I'm glad you're here. Your mother would be proud. Then he left, leaving Valerie blinking back tears. Frederick pulled her into a hug. "You were perfect, strong and honest, and exactly what this board needed to see. I was terrified. You didn't show it. You claimed your place with dignity, just like Elena would have." They stood together at the window, looking out over Chicago, somewhere below. Reporters were probably already writing tomorrow's headlines. Hale board recognizes secret heir. Murder conspiracy rocks Chicago business empire. Justice for Elena Collins. But in that boardroom, father and daughter simply held each other, celebrating a victory that had been 27 years in the making. "Mom would be proud," Valerie whispered. "She'd be over the moon," Frederick agreed. "And she'd be so grateful that you forgave me, that you gave me a chance to be your father. You earned it. Every single day for the rest of my life. I'm going to keep earning it." They stayed until the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow would bring new challenges: Veronica's trial, the media frenzy, the work of rebuilding the company's reputation. But today, they'd won, and Elena Collins's daughter had finally claimed her birthright. 3 months later, the Montana sky stretched endless and blue above Willow Creek. Valerie stood in front of her mother's grave, but everything had changed. Where once there'd been a simple headstone, now stood a monument of white marble, elegant but not ostentatious, exactly what Elena would have wanted. The inscription read, "Elena Marie Collins, 1972-2003. Beloved mother, teacher, and the love of my life, she loved fiercely and forgave freely." Her light lives on Frederick stood beside Valerie, holding a bouquet of white roses, Elena's favorite. He knelt and placed them carefully at the base of the monument. "I should have been here 22 years ago," he said quietly. "I should have known. I should have fought harder to find out what happened to you. You didn't know there was anything to fight for," Valerie reminded him gently. Constance made sure of that. "Still, I lost 27 years with you. Elena lost everything." Valerie knelt beside him, touching the cool marble. But she'd be happy now. She'd be glad we found each other, that the truth finally came out. The truth had indeed come out. Splashed across every news outlet for weeks, Veronica's trial had been a media circus. Robert Vance's testimony, detailed, remorseless, damning, had sealed Veronica's fate. She'd been sentenced to 15 years for conspiracy, accessory after the fact to murder, and a litany of other charges. Her lawyer had tried to paint her as a victim of her mother's manipulation, but the text messages, the payments to the contractors, her own words about handling problems the way Constance had, it was too much to overcome. During sentencing, Veronica had finally looked at Valerie directly. "I'm sorry," she'd said, her voice barely audible. "I'm sorry for what my mother did to yours, and I'm sorry for what I did to you. I was so afraid of losing everything that I became exactly like her. It wasn't enough. It could never be enough, but it was something." "Do you think about her?" Frederick asked now, pulling Valerie from her thoughts. "Veronica, sometimes I feel sorry for her. In a way, she was raised by a monster who taught her that love was weakness and power was everything. But then I remember the dress she destroyed, and I stopped feeling sorry. That's fair." They sat in silence for a while, the Montana wind carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers. It was June, and Willow Creek was at its most beautiful, the mountains sharp against the sky, the creek running high with snowmelt, the whole valley green and alive. "Are you ready to see it?" Frederick asked finally. Valerie nodded. They drove to the edge of town, to the 5 acres they'd purchased together, the land Elena had chosen all those years ago, where she'd imagined raising a family with Frederick. But they weren't building a house. They were building something better. The construction was nearly complete. A low, modern building with huge windows, just like Elena had wanted, designed to let in maximum light while offering views of the mountains from every angle. Native stone and wood, blending seamlessly with the landscape. The sign out front read, "Collins Elementary School. 50 students enrolled for the fall semester," Frederick said as they walked the grounds. All from families that couldn't otherwise afford quality education. Full scholarships, funded by the Elena Collins Memorial Foundation. Valerie felt tears prick her eyes. This was what she'd wanted from the moment they'd decided what to do with the land. Not a monument to grief, but something living. Something that would help other children the way Elena had spent her life helping children. She would have loved this, Valerie whispered. I know, and I'm so proud of you for creating it. Inside, the classrooms were bright and welcoming. Child-sized furniture, colorful decorations, books lining every wall. The library was Valerie's favorite, 2 stories tall, with a reading loft and comfortable beanbag chairs scattered everywhere. A mural on the wall showed Elena reading to a group of children, her face animated with joy. I hired a local artist, Frederick explained. Worked from photographs, I hope you don't mind. It's perfect. Valerie touched the mural gently. It's exactly her. That's the face she made when she read to me, like the story was the most important thing in the world. They toured the rest of the building, the cafeteria that would provide free breakfast and lunch to every student, the art room with supplies donated by Frederick's company, the playground outside, already installed, with swings and slides and a small garden where students could learn about growing food. The principal starts next week, Frederick said. Mary Chen, no relation to Marcus. She's been teaching for 30 years and jumped at the chance to run a school with this mission. When's the official opening? August 15th. We're planning a ceremony. The mayor's coming, the local press, some of the families whose kids will attend. Frederick paused. I'd like you to speak, if you're comfortable with that. About Mom, about whatever you want. But yes, about Elena, about what she meant to this town, how she touched lives, why this school exists because of her legacy. Valerie nodded slowly. I can do that. They spent the afternoon walking through the building, making notes about last-minute details, paint colors for the bathrooms, placement of benches in the playground, the small details that would make the space feel welcoming and loved. As the sun began to set, they returned to Elena's grave one last time. I bought a house here, Valerie said suddenly. In town, just a small place. 2 bedrooms. I'm going to spend weekends here, be involved with the school, make sure it runs the way Mom would have wanted. Frederick smiled. That's wonderful. But what about Chicago? Your position at the company? I can do both. Commute. Patricia says lots of board members aren't in the office full-time anyway. Valerie looked out at the mountains. This place is part of me. Mom's buried here. The school is here. I need to be here too, at least part of the time. I understand, and I'll visit. We can make it a tradition. First weekend of every month, we come to Willow Creek together. I'd like that. They sat on the grass beside the grave, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. Frederick pulled out his phone and queued up a song, an old country ballad that Elena used to love. According to her journal, she used to play this on repeat, Valerie said, recognizing it. In the car, while she cooked, all the time. I'd forgotten until just now. They listened in silence, the music drifting across the cemetery. When it ended, Frederick cleared his throat. I want to tell you something. Something I should have said months ago, but I was afraid. What? You don't have to forgive me. For being a coward 27 years ago. For not fighting harder. For letting my family control my life. You've been incredibly gracious. But you don't owe me forgiveness. You don't owe me anything. Valerie took his hand. Dad, I forgave you the day I read Mom's journal. The day I saw how she'd written about you with love instead of bitterness. Even though she thought you'd abandoned us. She forgave you without even knowing the truth. How could I do less? She was a better person than I'll ever be. She was. But you're here now. You chose me over your family's reputation. You exposed Constance's crimes even though it destroyed the Hale legacy. You built this school. You gave me everything I needed to heal. Valerie squeezed his hand. That counts for something. That counts for a lot. Frederick's tears fell freely now. I don't deserve you, either of you. Maybe not, but you've got me anyway. They sat until the stars came out, brilliant against the Montana sky. Valerie pointed out constellations her mother had taught her. Orion, the Big Dipper, Cassiopeia. Simple things, but precious. Memories that linked her past to her present. Do you think she can see us? Frederick asked, looking up at the stars. I'm sure of it, and I think she's happy. Finally, after 27 years of being alone, she's at peace. Because we found each other. Because her death wasn't in vain. Because the people who hurt her are facing justice. Because her daughter is extraordinary. Because her daughter had an extraordinary mother. They drove back to town as the night deepened. the school behind them dark but full of promise. In 6 weeks, it would open its doors. 50 children would walk through, getting the kind of education Elena had believed every child deserved. The Collins name would mean something in Willow Creek again. Not tragedy, but hope. At the small hotel where they were staying, Frederick hugged Valerie goodnight. "Thank you," he said, "for giving me a second chance, for being my daughter, for being exactly who Elena raised you to be. Thank you for being my dad." Finally, Valerie went to her room and stood at the window, looking out at the mountains silhouetted against the starlit sky. She touched the daisy pendant at her throat, never removed, always close to her heart. "We did it, Mom," she whispered. "We got justice. We got each other. And we're going to make sure your legacy lives on in every child who walks through those doors." The mountains stood silent, eternal, holding the secrets of 27 years of pain and loss. And finally, healing, and somewhere among the stars, Elena Collins smiled, knowing that love, real, fierce, unbreakable love, had won in the end. The time lost could never be recovered. The years stolen by Constance's cruelty would never return. But the time ahead, the weekends in Willow Creek, the school full of children, the relationship between father and daughter growing stronger every day, that was a gift no one could take away.